Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you guys are doing well. I have this crazy idea that's been on my mind for months and years. And anyway, I just thought I'd like to do some video short thoughts for you occasionally, just to add a little variety to your scrolling through social media. And we'll put it on the Facebook page, and you guys can ignore it or watch it, whatever you feel. Anyway, remember the days when we used to have the ward newsletter, and there was always a bishopric message that was included on the ward's newsletter? Those days are over, and we don't have those messages anymore. So I always get these little thoughts in my head, and I think I would love to have a venue we can just share a thought or two. So anyway, we'll try this out, see how it goes. We're going to take nominations for what we can call these things. The Scoutmaster Minute, only it's the Bishop's Minute, not the Scoutmaster. I was thinking that we could do the Bishop's message to a woke ward, but my wife Lisa did not like that too much. So anyway, if you have other suggestions, that'd be great. So today I just wanted to share a little thought with you guys about something I've been thinking about recently. I've been reading with Elder Uchtdorf, and his Hobbit parallel in last conference kind of opened the door for, all to find gospel parallels in all popular culture officially. So I feel like, hey, let's take that lead. I've just been reading this biography by Humphrey Carpenter about Tolkien. And so some of you guys are fans, I'm sure. And if you're not, that's okay. Just hold tight. We have a gospel parallel to this. But I just found it very interesting. There's some things that were sort of fun. The Gandalf was actually the name of the chief elf in The Hobbit, and the wizard was called Bladorthin. And then the Thorin Oakenshield, he became the chief dwarf, and then Gandalf was available for the wizard. Smaug was the Priftan was the name of Smaug at first, but he changed to Smaug. And Frodo in Lord of the Rings. Well, I'll tell you that in a sec. Anyway, so part of this book is talking about how he published The Hobbit, and it became a big hit. It was stories he used to tell his kids. He kind of put it down, fleshed it out with his son's help, and it was just a huge hit. The publisher loved it. Everybody was reading it, and it was just really a well-known book. And of course, the publisher wants to do a second book, a sequel. And Tolkien is like, look, I don't think I have a sequel in me for The Hobbit. I mean, I've got other books I've been writing. The Silmarillion was one of his favorites. It's really a pet project of his that no one was super excited about but him, because it was so long and had such depth in its mythology and things like that. And so he thought, oh, how about try this? Take a look at the Silmarillion. And the publisher was like, nah, we're just not. We needed the Hobbits. We got to have the Hobbits. And he kept saying, well, I don't really have any more. So here's a letter from the publisher. What we badly need is another book to which to follow up our success with The Hobbit. And alas, neither of these manuscripts, the poem and the Silmarillion itself, quite fits the bill. I still hope that you will be inspired to write another book about The Hobbit. And so he's like, I don't know. So he writes him back. I think it is plain that quite apart from it, a sequel or successor to The Hobbit is called for. I promise to give this thought and attention, but I am sure you will sympathize when I say that the construction of elaborate and consistent mythology rather occupies my mind. So that goodness knows what will happen. Mr. Baggins began as a comic tale among conventional and inconsistent Grimm's fairy tale dwarves, and got drawn into the edge of it, so that even Sauron the Terrible peeped over the edge. And what more can hobbits do? He's like, well, look, these guys were just kind of like comic book characters, and I did all I could do with the hobbits. I just really can't imagine anything else I can do with the hobbits, which I think is kind of laughable now. He says, I have actually started one chapter, and I've long written it, but I can't get past it. It's called A Long Expected Party. And he stated at the end of Hobbit that Bilbo remained very happy to the end of his days, and those were extraordinarily long. So how could the Hobbit have any new adventures worth the name without this being contradicted? And he decided to introduce a new Hobbit, Bilbo's son, and to give him the name of a family toy koala bear owned by his children, the Bingos. So he crossed out Bilbo in the first draft, and above it wrote Bingo as the main Hobbit character. And then he had this idea. It was kind of like, I don't know what to do with all this. And so he had this idea How about, and he wrote down in a memo format, make return of ring a motive. And so he started with this thought. I just one more little quote here from here. Tolkien was encouraged by this idea that he had about making the ring a motive. So he writes the publisher, and he says, I find it only too easy to write opening chapters, and at the moment the story is not unfolding. I squandered so much on the original Hobbit, which was not meant to have a sequel, that it is difficult to find anything new in that world. Okay, that's kind of crazy to me. There's nothing new in this world. We've exhausted the world of hobbits, is essentially what he's saying with the book The Hobbit. And little did he know that beyond the Hobbit, there was in his mind all of this kindling, just waiting for a match called the Return of the King, or the Lord of the Rings, to be more precise. And so he, didn't really think it had much potential, but yet it turned out to be this fantastic tale, which is epic in many ways. And so I just kind of feel like sometimes in our lives we sort of feel like we've done our great work. Everything's been accomplished. We've gone to college, whatever, went on missions. We're now in our careers, or maybe still working on getting that set up. But we wonder, is there much more in us or in our lives? And I just really hope that none of us ever give in to those thoughts, because there is so much more for all of us to do. And I think there's a Lord of the Rings inside of all of us, just waiting for a little bit of persistence, prayer. I think the Lord can really help us ignite some of those fires if we can turn to Him and find the vision He has for all of us that could really help. So anyway, I think it's great. We've done so much that we've done, but I hope we never forget that we have divinity inside of us, and there will be so much more about us. Like the band Switchfoot sings, we were meant to live for so much more. Have we lost ourselves? Somewhere we live inside, and there really is so much more that we can all do. And I hope that we can sort of put that out there on the altar, and let God, the author and finisher of our faith, take our hand and lead us to these places where there is so much story yet to be done. And anyway, have a great day. We'll see you guys. Bye-bye.